Breaking tonight, sources telling me that Venezuela is very close to a deal for new elections, and a Nicolas Maduro exit package may be being negotiated as we speak. A key development here in the negotiations between Guaido and Maduro. Russia is on its way out of Venezuela, and I'll tell you, this is massive. This is a big, big deal because Russia was a key supporter of the Maduro regime, helping them financially, propping them up, and keeping that dictatorship afloat. So with Russia gone, it sets the stage for Juan Guaido and perhaps whoever will take over for the Chavistas to have an actual election, a real election. Imagine that. This is a big win. This is a big win for Donald Trump. This is a big win for the Vice President, Mike Pence, who's made this very much his issue. It's a big win for our Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo. It's a big win for John Bolton, Marco Rubio. And I'll tell you, it is a very, very big win for capitalism. But don't count your chickens before they hatch, as they say. Joining me right now is former Trump and Bush State Department official Christian Whiten. Christian, what can you tell us about what's going on right now?
Well, the important new step is that Russia's state-owned, basically arms and military training organization, Rostec, has decided to essentially, not entirely, but essentially leave Venezuela. It had as many as 1,000 people in country training Venezuelan troops, training their paramilitary, helping to equip the military, and frankly, racking up big invoices that Venezuela owed but didn't pay. And they have decided to pack up and really trim down to fewer than 100 people, which to me says that basically Russia is tired of having its bills not paid and thinks its bills will never be paid by Maduro, and has decided to, frankly, write off this bad debt.
Okay. Interesting how it all comes back to money, right? So if Russia's saying, all right, Maduro, you're not good for it, is Russia then encouraging the president that we recognize, Juan Guaido, to come to some kind of agreement with Nicolas Maduro or the Chavista party and have a free election?
I certainly wish they would. I sort of doubt they've actually done a complete 180 from bad guy to good guy. I think basically, Russia actually has a habit of sticking with bad actors who make problems for the United States to the bitter end. And the fact that if you follow the money, ignore what they're perhaps saying, which is Maduro, 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 but the fact that they're moving away this key pillar of support. And if you're one of the guys who's hanging around Maduro and you see this departure that the Russians were, hey, yeah, we're there, we're with you, we don't want you to leave power, which is what they told Maduro when he was wavering before. Now, all of a sudden, those guys are jumping on planes to go back to Russia. I think that's a bad sign if you're a Maduro supporter.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty big signal, shall we say. Some sources have told me they believe some kind of exit deal is being worked on, and there are questions as to what Maduro would do, what he could do. I don't know, go live in a nice villa somewhere in Cuba or Dominican Republic. What would be sort of the options on the table, if you would, Christian, for someone who is sort of a slightly disgraced, very disgraced dictator? What does he do? What's the next play? How does he get out of there, and how does it all go down?
Well, his options, if you look at the places where thugs usually end up, Saudi Arabia for Idi Amin, that's probably not on the list. China's been a big supporter of Maduro, but I don't know if that's a fit. Russia would probably take him. They do have that sort of allegiance to former dictators who used to be in their pocket. Cuba and Nicaragua are the near abroad. Those have been supporters of his and probably make a little more sense, although the Cubans are the ones who have, of course, wanted this regime to stay as long as possible and certainly aren't going to give him a green light. Now, if he shows up in Havana, I assume they would take him in. But, I think that the key point is to keep the pressure up. It's impossible to time dissent movements, freedom movements. This week we're marking the 30th anniversary since the Tiananmen Square massacre. So sometimes freedom movements move fast, sometimes they move slower. Yeah. But U.S. pressure here has really brought this to bear.
Sure has. And look, I mean, I think it's probably going to happen. Timing is tricky, as you say, but it is going to happen. And that is a pretty important step for our hemisphere. It's an important step for freedom for those people that really so deserve it. Thank you so much, Christian. It's good to have you here tonight.